Good morning and welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I am the Reverend Dana Worsnop, and it is my great pleasure and honor to serve as this congregation's minister.
And I'm Worship Associate Jerry Mendelson. A very happy Father's Day and the longest day of the year to all of you, wherever you may be. We welcome you all into this virtual space made sacred by our presence together. We begin our service with an acknowledgement that the land each of us are on is the ancestral home of indigenous peoples. In most of Ventura County, this is the Chumash people.
We have so many holidays to celebrate this day, and our pandemic practices are shifting yet again. Some have started to talk about a return to normalcy, which is what President Harding called it in 1920 after World War I and the end of the flu pandemic. So it's a little bit of an interesting phrase and one to unpack a little bit. And today we will also take note of Father's Day, Pride Week, and Juneteenth. And we consider what we have learned from COVID time and how normal is not exactly what we are returning to. Just a couple of announcements. This coming week, you will have seen information about a town hall to discuss about how we reopen our religious education program. And also note that next Sunday, we will be worshiping with thousands of Unitarian Universalists across the land, across the continent, even probably across the world as we join the General Assembly worship. It will be on our Zoom channel and also streamed on YouTube again. And lastly, if you are new among us and you wish to join into a connecting room breakout session after the service with our membership coordinator, Jimmy Vasquez, then just stick around afterward and we'll get you into that room to learn a little bit more about our church and for us to welcome you in, because we're so thrilled to have you with us. Let us now breathe. Remember how much we need each other, how much all that we do affects each other and the whole world, and let us enter sacred space.
We hope everyone here has a candle or a chalice and something to light it with. Please join Reverend Dana and me, and let's light our chalices together now. We begin our service with these words by Andre Moll. As we gather together, may we remember when you share with me what is most important to you, that is where listening begins. When I show you that I hear you, when I say your life matters, that is where compassion begins. When I open the door to greet you, that is where hospitality begins. When I venture out to bring you to shelter, that is where love begins. When I risk my comfort to ease your suffering, when I act against hatred, violence, and injustice, that is where courage begins. When we experience the full presence of each other because of our shared humanity, because of our differences, that is where holy gratitude begins. May this space be a table that is not complete until all are welcome. May this table be a space of beauty where together we create a series of miracles and where all that we share is sacred. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. I'm Carolyn Bierke, the music director. I'd like to invite you to join me in singing our opening hymn, We Would Be One. We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Beautiful. Thank you, Carolyn. Good morning, everyone. My name is Fidelity, and I'm the Religious Education Coordinator for our congregation.
And I'm Mark Fargo. We're here to read you a story called We Will Live in This Forest Again, written and illustrated by Gianna Marino. We have always lived in the forest. Its trees and shrubs were filled with birdsong and the rustle of animals.
In autumn, the leaves and branches crinkled and crunched under our feet. I used to think this forest would always be our home.
Until a day, a spark flew across the dry treetops. At first, we didn't notice.
The smell of smoke blew north as the flames began to grow, then turned south toward us.
We made the fire roar. Wind made the fire roar. Fire made the wind roar. Our sky turned dark.
I always thought the mountain lion was the fiercest animal in the forest. But, like me,
He was fragile.
before the flames swirled at us again,
We fled. Hot cinders spun back and forth across the hills and through the canyons.
wind hissed and roared. Fire snapped at our fur and feathers and hooves and paws, swallowing our trees and blackening our sky.
When we finally stopped, there was silence, except for the cracks and pops of the fallen trees.
The smoke was strong,
But we were stronger.
in time, our forest will return.
The trees and the shrubs will once again be filled with birdsong and the rustle of animals.
The new leaves and shoots will be soft and quiet under our feet.
We will live in the forest again. In these trying times, we have been meeting adversity this past year and a half. This story reminds us that we will indeed return to being together and find a way back into our UU community soon.
Thinking back on all of the things we love about our in-person UU community. Coffee in Berg Hall, fighting for social justice together, smiling at one another and seeing those smiles, being with our children in religious education, playing in the outdoor sanctuary. These are all places that we can and will return to and change in time. We will live in this forest again.
We will live in our forest again. Thank you, Fidelity and Mark. Each Sunday, this congregation gives away our collection, the entire thing, to an organization in the larger community or to funds that help people in our own church. We now invite you to donate online. Today's offering goes to the Lift Up Your Voice to End Homelessness Moving In Fund. You'll see a link during the next video.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Powell, and I'm in charge of the Move-In Project. So I'm going to read this to you because it's easier for me and tell you a little bit about it. In little over a year, the Move-In Project has helped 125 people moving from homelessness into housing. In the past 6 weeks, we assisted 5 men, 5 women, and 4 children. The children were all under the age of 7. One of the women we helped was pregnant. We can be outfitting their new kitchen or doing a full move-in from sheets to couches and beds. All of these donations come from the community, and we are the middle people, taking it in and giving it out. We are assisted by other faith houses, making it a true community effort. This amazing offering pays primarily for the storage units, where we put all the furniture donations waiting for them to be needed. It may also be used for a microwave or new pillows, things we might not have that are needed. Thank you, UU, for making this project possible. I am also in need of help, physical help, with picking up donated furniture or moving it in when people get their new places. It truly is a joyous task, but we need able-bodied volunteers and people with trucks. I'm getting too old to move all this furniture. Please leave your contact information by phone or email with the church office and they will let me know. We really couldn't do this project without you. Thank you.
Please give generously as you always do.
This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that? This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, this strength that I have, this strength that I have, this strength that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This strength that I have. Oh, yeah, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This strength that I have. Oh, yeah, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, this love that I have. This love that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This love that I have. Oh, yeah, the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that? This love that I have, yeah, the world didn't give it to me. Singing, the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. that I have. This pride that I have. Oh yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. World didn't give it to me. This pride that I have. I said the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that? This pride that I have, yeah. The world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it. The world can't take it away. All this peace that I have. Oh, yeah. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give me my peace that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. Won't you sing about peace? This peace that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. I said the world didn't give it. The world can't take it away. All this joy that I have, this joy that I have. This joy that I have. Oh, yeah, now, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have. I said the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it. The world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it. The world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it. The world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it. The world can't take it away.
Resistance Revival Chorus believes in the words written by the poet Toy Derricott when she wrote, "Joy is an act of resistance." We believe in the words of Mr. Harry Belafonte, who said, "When the movement is strong, the music is strong." We sing to revive the hearts of those who fight for social justice, and we sing together for freedom.
It is joy is an act of resistance. Let us remember that. And also remember that the generosity of this congregation is a manifestation of how deeply we are connected to one another. It is an expression of what we know that we owe one another. And with this, and so with the music and the joy and the resistance, we are strong. And the tapestry we weave, which we call community, is strong as well. May it be so. Yeah.
Each week, we lift up the joys and sorrows that have been shared within our community. There are two ways to submit a joy or sorrow: from a link on the website, uuventura.org, or in our Thursday email bulletin, UUCV This Week. When we are together in our physical sanctuary, we drop stones in water for each joy or sorrow. The ripples that go out remind us that we are all connected. Here, in our online sanctuary we make together today, we see the image of ripples to help us keep that connection. Since there are no joys or sorrows that have been shared with us this week, I now invite you to speak aloud or in your heart the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those who may need the loving embrace of this community. I also invite you to type the names into our Zoom chat. By invoking their names, even when we may not hear them, you bring them into this circle of caring that we call community. We hold these names, spoken and unspoken, in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
I invite you to join me in singing Soon the Day Will Arrive. Soon the day will arrive when we will be together and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunder clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Some have dreamed, some have died to make a bright tomorrow, and no vision remains in our hearts. Now the torch must be passed with new hope, not in sorrow, and a promise to make a new start. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me.
Our reading this morning is from A. Powell Davies. None of our private worlds is big enough for us to live a wholesome life in. We need the wider world of joy and wonder, of purpose and venture, of toil and tears. What are we, any of us, but strangers and sojourners, forlornly wandering through the nighttime until we draw together and find the meaning of our lives in one another, dissolving our fears in each other's courage, making music together, and lighting torches to guide us through the dark. We belong together. Love is what we need, to love and to be loved. Let our hearts be open, and what we would receive from others, let us give. For what is given still remains to bless the giver when the gift is love.
I invite you now into a time of stillness. Breathe. Breathe again. May we notice the strands that tie us to one another. May we feel ourselves woven into a web, woven into connections, knowing that what happens to each of us happens to all of us eventually. Breathe. Feel the connections flowing from you like glowing threads to everyone in this community, to everyone in this part of the state, across the world, across the country, and around the world. May we feel connected as we breathe in silence together.
I'll reach my hands out in the dark and I'll wait for yours to interlock. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. 'Cause I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, no, not yet. Even when I'm down on my last breath, even when they say there's nothing left, so don't give up. 'Cause I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even when nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up. Whoa, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I will fight. I will fight for you. I always do until my heart is black and blue.
It is such a gift that we have so many talented musicians in this congregation, and it's lovely to hear from the Ball family once again. It is also good that we have such amazing technology which can tie us together and occasionally messes with us. I have repeatedly talked about the technology trickster gods play with us. And we actually have 3 sorrows to hold today that somehow got mixed. The technology tricksters did something with them, but then other people alerted us and we have recovered them. So I also want to share tenderly 3 sorrows that have come in this week. Bruna Jones shares 2. It is with great reluctance, trepidation, and sorrow, she says, that on June 1st, my husband, Bob Jones, was placed in the memory care unit at Cypress Place. Also, she says that Bob's sister, Nancy Rowe, who years ago was an accompanist at church on Sunday mornings, that Nancy passed away this past Wednesday. And also, Rena Pizzuto shares this sorrow. One of my brothers is not doing well. He has many health issues and is now at Victoria Care. It is very sad to see him this way, and she asks us to send healing energy to him and to her. And we are a community of so many connections and weaving so much love together, that love and care and prayers to Bob and to Bruna and to their family and to Rena's family as well. We hold you tenderly. So, as we've noted a few times, today marks 3 significant celebrations that we wish to hold up, though one of them has grown to encompass nearly all of June. Today, we are in the midst of Pride Day, Pride Week, and really Pride Month. And then too, today is Father's Day, which has been around actually for more than a century. And though it did not become an official holiday until 1972, So let us today remember and celebrate the nurturing energies of fathering with this quotation from Mark Twain. And hopefully an image of a father and child that's supposed to be somewhere around here. Oh, there we are. Mark Twain reminds us, tells us, when I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much the old man had learned in 7 years. Let us also acknowledge both the oldest and the newest holiday celebrated this weekend. On June 19th, 1865, word of the Emancipation Proclamation finally reached the enslaved peoples of Galveston, Texas. Though the proclamation was issued on September 22nd, 1862, and went into effect January 1st, 1863, and the Civil War had been over for nearly 2 full months. Word of freedom arrived for the formerly enslaved people of our land at different times. June 19th in Texas and in various places in the midst of and after the Civil War. Because that emancipation is not yet fully realized, it seems apt that it carry a name that can encompass many dates. Let us celebrate Juneteenth all weekend. Today, though, I turn our attention to another event that is rolling out over a very long time. As the ending of our pandemic is coming closer, but has not yet fully arrived. So much is reopening, and so many are happily declaring a return to normal. And yet normal is a fraught word in many contexts. First, we have all been saying in various times and ways all along that the pre-COVID normal really wasn't that great, and nor is it something that I really want to normalize many things about it. And returning there to many things would not be a good thing. And second, if we rush back to some sense of normalcy too quickly, if we rush it, we risk losing what we have learned, and yes, what we have gained in COVID time. Some of what we have learned is not entirely comfortable, and the temptation may be great to let it fade into the background again. Yet this way, we could lose some of the lessons of this past year because it's just been so dang long and we are so weary. And yet, that so-called normal had a healthcare system that wasn't up to addressing a pandemic, especially if you are a Black, Indigenous person of color. And then the murder of George Floyd was a horrific example of that kind of systemic racism. The video of his death lasts 9 painful minutes. I have watched it all the way through exactly once, not looking away as much as I wanted to. And I know there are many who couldn't watch the whole thing because none of us, because it is just so painful to watch. And yet none of us wants to look away completely from what it revealed to us. That is a normal we knew wasn't right before COVID, though seeing it in these times has ripped away any illusions we may have held on to without really knowing it. That is not a normal worth returning to. And those are uncomfortable truths, and yet things that will be harder for us to forget. Yet there are more subtle realizations that can more easily fade. For example, a couple of times during the pandemic, I moved my own COVID bubble, me and the dogs, and parked us in a pet-friendly hotel in Pacific Grove. At the time, not many folks were wearing masks walking along the beaches in Ventura, but in Pacific Grove, everyone was. And I found it fascinating that the first time I went out at Pacific Grove, I actually forgot my mask, and I immediately felt uncomfortable because I was the only one not masked. And what also though was happening is people were walking along at Pacific Grove. Mostly they were taking their masks down when they were by themselves. But when we came across somebody, we're about to cross paths with somebody, everybody paused, pulled the mask up over their noses again. And each party would then, we would smile from behind those masks and say a shy hello to one another. From one perspective, it felt like a loss, like we were distancing ourselves from each other, particularly when we couldn't see the smiles. And yet I came to see it as an act of tenderness and care. Perhaps I began to think about it as a new gesture of namaste. The vulnerable and tender one in me greets the vulnerable and tender one in you. Let us all care for one another. That thought made each encounter so sweet. Also during COVID time, almost the entire time, I played tennis outside through the whole thing. And we all wore masks, except when we were on the courts. And yet, since the single riskiest part of playing tennis together was actually talking to each other while standing a little bit too close between games. So we developed a kind of choreography when switching sides between games. I would stand some feet away while my teammate would walk around the net, and then I would walk over to my side. And again, there was a sweetness of care for one another in that gentle choreography. I find myself doing it still. And it's doing it still, and it's become such a pattern in me that it's hard to go back to the old way. And the truth is, I'm not sure I want to. There is a consciousness of caring for one another that I want to remember, and perhaps those just keeping that slightly larger distance can be a physical reminder. And maybe our new greeting, especially with people we don't know well, can become, maybe we can transfer it to a kind of namaste greeting, especially with people we don't know well. We can honor the holiness within each other at a slight distance. I know this congregation is generally a group of huggers. And when we have been together recently, people are eagerly and happily and relievedly hugging once more, and there is much joy in it. Yet, I invite us to consider that we can learn a new choreography, a new kind of dance together. I am certainly not suggesting that we stop hugging altogether. Yet I note that I am finding myself less comfortable hugging people I don't know yet, or even I notice shaking hands. So perhaps we can greet each other with a namaste. Or for me, there's something very sweet about placing my hands over my heart, offering an unmasked smile that feels more genuine. There is no single right way to reset our old habits. Yet we are offered an opportunity to reset, to rethink, to change, perhaps to show to all a new community, to take forward with us some of what we have learned of how much we need each other, how connected we are, and how what we do affects one another. For the biggest lessons that I am carrying through this time and after this time have been about our collective responsibility. For COVID has shown us how much we do really does affect others. When wearing a mask, it protected you more than it protected me, and your mask protected me more than it did you. And there is such a wide streak in American culture of a sense of self-reliance. I can do this myself. It's up to me, and you do what you do, and we'll all be just fine, which is there's much of that kind of libertarian view that I agree with and agree about. And yet that image of the lone actor taking care of himself, the cowboy out on the range, the John Waynes, shall we say, that has always been so much more of a myth than anything else. And we have come to see how toxic it can be. So I pray that the lessons of COVID will remind us viscerally of our connections and our responsibility to each other. We can draw together and find the meaning of our lives in one another. None of our private worlds are big enough. And so let us dissolve our fears in each other's courage. Let us make music together again. And for we do belong together, and we so deeply need each other. We need each other all the time. We need each other for the simplest moments in a life. Just moving from one place to another is really not something we can do ourselves. We need one another to move furniture for people who are leaving homelessness and moving in. We need each other for so many things in so many ways. And we are connected in ways that we cannot see. Alas, including by an invisible virus. Monica Hess recently wrote in the Washington Post, Public health doesn't work if we consider only our own immune systems. Somehow people won't generate antibodies in response. Some people won't ever generate antibodies in response to the vaccine, and some aren't yet eligible to receive it. And every infection gives the virus a new opportunity to change. Our goal must be, she says, considering the best of the best for everyone, including complete strangers. That's how we open schools and eliminate travel restrictions and allow hospital visitors. That's how we get to the other side of this, by being part of a herd. Herd immunity isn't just a goal, it's a mindset. It's a mindset that we are in this together, still, and well beyond, years again into the future. And I note now that at first, the most vulnerable to COVID, the most vulnerable among us were people over 65. And now, those most vulnerable are our children. A variant may still arise that is more contagious and more serious for them, and a vaccine for them is still some months away. As eager as we are to be unmasked together, we must also always hold our children in our care. There are some UU churches that are not fully opening until everyone has the opportunity to be fully vaccinated, including kids from 2 to 12, which could mean they are waiting until early 2022. Now, in our climate, we have viable outdoor learning spaces for our children well into the fall. Yet they will still be wearing masks even then. At our flower communion this past Saturday, we all wore masks when our children were with us. We all wore masks together for all kinds of reasons, including wearing masks lets our children know that we care about them. For it is so that soon the day will arrive that when we can be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunderclouds will appear. What a world that will be. And oh, good golly, we're almost there. So let us not leap too quickly from our pandemic mindset. There is much we get to leave behind, and good riddance. And yet let us also carry with us the lessons of this time which is not quite over. We will get there together, and we have the courage and the strength to get there together. So I leave you now with this from Senator Elizabeth Warren about collective responsibility from a slightly different angle. Nobody in this country got rich on their own. Nobody. You built a factory out there. Good for you. But be clear, You moved your goods to market on roads the rest of us paid for. You hired workers the rest of us paid to educate. You were safe in your factory because of police forces and fire forces that the rest of us paid for. You built a factory and it turned into something terrific. God bless. But God bless, keep a hunk of it. But a part of the underlying social contract is that you take a hunk of that money that you earn by it and pay it forward to the next kid that comes along. Ah, God bless Elizabeth Warren. Community is always a dance, a give and take, a choreography that moves and flows with care and beauty, where we watch our step, where we follow one another's lead. We don't get too far ahead of one another. We wait for one another to catch up. So let these next few months, as we come back together and figure out how this is going to work, what it is going to look like, how we care for one another and hold on to that sense of collective responsibility for one another. In all of this time, let it continue to be a dance we do. May I have this tender, sweet, careful, and joyful dance with you. Amen. May it be so. I invite you now into a time of prayer. Holy beingness of many names and no name, web of life weaving us together. Spirit of life which dwells within and among and beyond us this day and always. May we remember always that none of us have gotten this far, however far that is. None of us have gotten here alone. May we remember how much we need each other, how vulnerable each of us is, how tenderly we can care for one another. May we hold up the celebrations at this time of year with a joyful thought that liberation is possible for all. We're not there yet, and yet it is possible. And so may we join the spirit of Juneteenth. May we join the joyful spirit of pride along with dear Elizabeth Warren and all those of us who are part of the LGBTQ community or our allies. And may we remember tenderly our fathers who have passed. May we be grateful to our fathers that are. May we be grateful to all the fathers that yet will be. All those who have fathered us, who are fathering us, whatever their gender. May we remember too that we need one another, that what we do affects others around us, those we can see and those still in distant lands. And may all those who are ill find healing. May those who are in despair find hope. May those who are without shelter find home. And may all those in conflict and war throughout the world, may we know peace. Amen. And blessed be.
Please join me in our closing hymn, Let It Be a Dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, plant the seed. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend. And like a willow with the wind. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. A child is born, the old must die. A time for joy, the time to cry. Take it as it passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Morning star comes out at night. Without the dark there is no light. If nothing's wrong, then nothing's right. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter, bear the pain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance.
Please join Reverend Dana in extinguishing your chalice at home. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
So after the postlude, I again invite everyone to join us in breakout rooms for a virtual coffee hour. And even if you are new among us, I sincerely invite you in, and you can also stick around in the main room and get placed in a connecting room if you wish to learn a little bit more about this specifics about this congregation. And if you wish, you can opt out at that point and head out into your, yeah, it's not sunny yet. Stick around, stick around. I leave you. Well, it's not, I want to note that there are people probably joining us from Ojai and other places further inland where it is sunny, but it's not sunny here in my part of Ventura. I leave you with these words from James Baldwin. Nothing is fixed. Forever and ever and ever it is not fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down rock. Generations do not cease to be born, and we are responsible to them because we are the only witnesses they have. The sea rises, the light fails, lovers cling to each other, and children cling to us. The moment we cease to hold each other, the sea engulfs us and the light goes out. We need one another so very deeply. So go forth in peace, go forth in good health, go forth in love. May it be so.